Hello, everyone. This is Jill Whalen from Victim of Thought and from whatdidyoudo.com. Here to answer a few questions. Hopefully you guys can hear me. I've got this fancy Bluetooth headphones, so hopefully they're working. I used them earlier. They seem to work. Anyway, so question I got from Vanessa. She said, "Hey, I loved your book. I'm very new to the 3Ps and I'm reading and listening to lots of things so I can figure it all out so anxiety doesn't strike again. It's like if I stop learning that I will go backwards. This is wrong, yeah? LOL." It's a little bit wrong. I mean, there's no wrong and right, but thanks, Diana. Thank you for saying you can hear me. Here's the thing with that. There's nothing you can do that will make it so anxiety doesn't strike again. That's the bottom line. So it doesn't matter what you do. Anxiety can still strike because anxiety is just thoughts that come to you. Anxiety is, you get thoughts in your head. They create a feel. They trigger the chemicals in your body that create the feeling of anxiety. So that can happen anytime because we can't control what thoughts come into our head. So it really doesn't matter how much you learn this stuff. You could still get anxious thoughts that could trigger the chemicals in your body. But that's the bad news. The good news is it's just thought. So you can get anxious thoughts. They're not you. They're not who you are. They're just an energy that comes in your head that seem to be on the, whatever it is, they scare you and then trigger the chemicals. But that's it. If you recognize that you're starting to feel anxious, you can sometimes be like, okay, I must be having an anxious thought, because we don't know. We don't usually know we're having an anxious thought. We just feel the feelings of anxiety, and then we get, oh crap, I'm getting anxious. I'm gonna, this is gonna be horrible, blah, blah, blah. And so that's more thought on top of thought, making us more anxious and, sometimes creating panic attacks in some people. But when we know it's just thoughts that create our feelings, it can, it doesn't always have the same power. And this is not just like knowing it intellectually. I can tell you this from now till forever, and that's not going to necessarily do anything for you. But the more you see that those thoughts aren't you, the real you is what's underneath those thoughts, that's where the power is. That real you is the space underneath all that thinking that's going on in your head. And when you can access that space, when you see it or just know it, that it's there underneath and that the thoughts aren't you, and you're always going to be fine because you're that space, then it's okay to get anxious. I get anxious. I don't get anxious quite as much. I know what it is now when it comes. I can't stop it. If it's really bad, if it really hits me bad, that I, not just some little thing, there's nothing I can do about it. I just have to be anxious. And I might tell myself, oh, it's just your thoughts. That doesn't help. It doesn't help for me to say it's just my thoughts. I know it's just my thoughts, but I don't see it in that moment. So it's fine. It is what it is. I just ride it out. A piece of me is sort of laughing, saying, you'll be fine. The main thing to remember is just try not to act when you're within that feeling, those bad feelings of anxiety or anything else. So it's really hard because that's when we think it's the end of the world and we need to, do something about it. But we really don't. It will pass. Thoughts come, thoughts go, they pass. I mean, that's what the whole book's about. So you might want to reread the book too. But don't worry if you don't stay in the conversation. It doesn't matter. Anxiety, I can guarantee you anxiety is going to come back to you at some point. And that's not the time when you say, I thought I knew better because we've all been there as well. Hi, Dave. Dave says, I love your latest blog post, Thank you, Dave. That was one about the All the World's a Stage, which I hope people will read. It's about, it's sort of a metaphor for our life. Let me, I think I had another question. Brenda says, my son is very negative. He is married and has a new baby. We have done stuff for him and his wife. We get no appreciation from him or his wife. They act like we owe them something. We visit, but all they do is play on their phone. They are 30 and 29. It depresses me. Do I ignore or say something? Just wanted your thoughts on this. Thank you. Well, thank you, Brenda, for the question. So let's see. Your son's very negative, and so is his wife. You said we've done stuff for him and his wife, and we get no appreciation. So are you doing stuff for him because you want to be appreciated, or are you doing stuff for him just because you love him unconditionally? We think we love our people unconditionally, but we don't always, because if we did, we wouldn't need their appreciation when we did something like that. And you can do it for the appreciation, but as you're finding out, it doesn't work, or it doesn't always work. You're not getting it. So then, if that's the reason for doing those things, then don't do those things if you need to have the appreciation. But if you're truly doing it just out of unconditional love for your son, personally, I don't see why it should matter whether they appreciate you or not. Now, that said, that's your reality, your thinking about the situation is that they're not appreciating it. And that's because in the way you appreciate things, I'm just guessing, is to do whatever, to say thank you, to do something back, to do whatever it is in your mind that means you appreciate something is what you do. But everybody lives in their own reality, and they don't always do the same things we do. They think completely different ways. And so they could most certainly be appreciating it and just not being demonstrative of it. They just don't say anything about it. But, they still could be appreciating it. Or maybe not. But it's something to consider, because they just, especially a lot of young people that age, my kids are that age, it's just, they just don't really think that they need to say something or whatever, because they assume that you do love them unconditionally. So there's that too. Now let me see, what was the other part? They act like we owe them something. Well, again, that's your take on what you're seeing. So you don't know what goes on in their heads, but in your mind, from your experience, the way they're acting is telling you that they think you owe them something. But you don't know. You don't know what the real situation is. It's just that they have one way of being in this life, and you have another way of being in this life. Neither one is right or wrong. And that's pretty much it. It's just knowing that, they are just living out of the thoughts that they're having in their heads. And maybe they do expect you, because you're the parent, to do all these things for them. And maybe that's because you always do. And so again, it sort of comes back to, if you don't want to do those things for them unconditionally, then just don't do them. And you can go either way, or you can just love them, give them what they need if you want to, and that's good too. But then don't expect something in return, because that's where your suffering is coming from, by having your own expectations about what should or shouldn't happen in this situation. Now, I think you said something asking about, whether you should talk to them or not about it. I mean, you can if you want to. It could be uncomfortable. If you decide you don't want to give to them unless they do something demonstrative that shows they appreciate you, then that's, then you can certainly have that conversation and say that to them. But yeah, I don't know. I don't have much more to say about that. Just remember that everybody lives in their own reality and they're not the same. Wow, I can't believe I've been talking for over 10 minutes. It feels like about 2. I guess I will end it here then. I don't think I saw any other questions, and I can fill in the blanks through typing in the group if anyone has anything else. Bye.